Hi folks, it's Coach Kelvin here from the We Run Virtual Run Club and We Run Coach for Leeds and surrounding areas as well as online coaching. In this little video I'm going to give some marathon training tips. In the We Run Virtual Run Club Facebook group there's been some brilliant questions asked over the last month or so about both marathon training and the long run in the context of other distances as well. And I thought I'd just do a video that just kind of brings some of that into a little summary. So the first thing is when we start in a marathon training plan, what we're looking at doing is not suddenly increasing training load. Training load always needs to be really gradual. And a mistake a lot of runners make is they add both more volume and race specific intensity at the same time. And this can create a spike in training load. So either you sort of seam into your plan, building up to the volume at the start of the plan and then just kind of roll into the plan, if what you've already been doing has a similar amount of intensity to the plan itself. It's a little bit different if you've added like a sort of volume based kind of base phase, where it's not really had a lot of intensity or race specific work. It's probably had some speed in there, but what we call kind of easy speed, like a speed base. And if this is the case, you actually want to build up to slightly more than the race plan. And then when you start the race plan, you actually drop your volume a little bit, and that gives you capacity to add the intensity. So I hope that will make some sort of sense. And if you've got any questions on that, just kind of pop them in the comments. The other thing is marathon training or training for longer distance events like ultras is more about global volume than it is about the long run distance. A lot of emphasis is put on the long run, and in all honesty it's quite important, but it's more important to be able to look back over weeks and months and see really consistent volume, sort of week on week, month on month, and we could even say to a certain degree year on year. And that's not saying the long run isn't important, and that's not also to say that we don't just keep building volume. We still have like downloads, and we still have other paces in there to target different energy systems. But we've got to be quite careful that we don't just put everything on the long run and shift loads of volume to one run every week. That needs to be spaced out a little bit. The next kind of thing I'd like to talk about is, with that in mind, the long run for most people should, probably be about every other week. And for people doing marathons on the slower side, so maybe somewhere between 5 and 6 hours for a marathon, may even find that a long run every 3 or even 4 weeks works better. But for most people, a long run every other week. So if you're working on 3 builds and a deload, you do your long run on build week 1 and build week 3. And on build week 2, you might add sort of a middle distance with maybe a little bit of goal pace work in there. So you still might stretch the run out a little bit, but it's not just part of this kind of long run progression. The other thing is your most challenging workout. So for many people, that's their longest run, or maybe their longest run with some goal pace work in there. It's advisable to do that sort of 3 to 4 weeks out from your race, and not 2 weeks. So quite often we see people doing the most challenging workout kind of right before the taper. And we just risk carrying fatigue from that workout into the event itself. So you're much better off doing that toughest workout 3 to 4 weeks out from your event, and then just starting your taper to slope in a little bit from there. And the other thing that I'd like to mention is strength work. I've done videos before on how to periodize strength work through training, but we need to make sure that we're at the very least tapering strength work. So when I say strength work, I'm talking about non-specific strength work, so kind of gym work. rather than run strength like hills. So make sure that we taper in non-specific strength work to at the very, very least a maintenance level during the peak phase of marathon training. So that's, that 12 weeks that leads up to your taper. With most runners that I work with in that period, they won't actually be doing any strength work at all, or not non-specific strength work. The running itself will be challenging enough. So I hope that's given a few tips. If anybody else has got any tips of their own that they'd like to share with us, please kind of pop them in the pop those rather in the comments below. And if you have any questions about marathon training or training for longer distance events like ultras, just let me know. And any questions whatsoever, post them in the comments below. And for now, happy running.